All right, everyone. Dianne Feinstein's long-term driver over there in California. It turns out he was a Chinese spy. It's almost a video you can provide without any further comment because it's self-explanatory why it's important. It's self-explanatory why it's funny, but I think it goes deeper than Feinstein and or the driver himself or even Chinese spying itself. If the intel communities in this country are so wonderful and they deserve their big raises and they deserve all their money and all their power and the ability to basically bypass the Fourth Amendment through a FISA court, why is it that a Chinese spy was working for one of our top senators for 2 decades? Is anyone in the FBI going to answer this? Anyone in the NSA? Since you conduct surveillance on anyone, didn't any red flags get raised on this? Oh yeah, I'm sure that dude, yeah, he waves a commie flag all day and he's got like Chairman Mao on his wall. But there's nothing suspicious here. It's just California. I almost think that that's the reason why. The state of California wouldn't find that odd. Literally speaking, half of their state officials probably do the same thing. They love China. I mean, they're going to love a communist country. It's like Dianne Feinstein says, well, I'm flabbergasted at this. Actually, this is one time I can't blame Feinstein. Like, there's no indication that she was, sort of in with the joke. But why exactly don't they vet these people? Like, if someone wants to drive a senator around, they're going to be their security chief, their driver, their fucking butler or whatever, and an advisor, an accountant. Don't you think that it's in the interest of the taxpayers to have some process in place within the government to vet these people to make sure that our government isn't compromised by foreign intel agents? Don't you think that that would make sense? No. So the real story, where everyone's talking about Russian collusion, Russian spies, Russian Facebook ads, Russian espionage, spy versus spy. Meanwhile, the Chinese government managed to infiltrate Senator Feinstein's office. Wonderful. Yeah, so for 20 years they were getting info they shouldn't have gotten. Now, there's no indication that they got anything substantial, but who else has been infiltrated? And maybe some other people. And that's the real thing. Russia is really good at the espionage thing, but they've got a lot less resources. China, meanwhile, second largest economy, much more manpower. They're who you should be worried about. Within hacking, within propaganda. China, not Russia. I don't sit there worrying about the Russians influencing our political structure. I do worry about China using its interconnected intranet to attack ours. You do realize I think it's called the Great Cannon or something. They hook all their computers together and can just totally overrun an internet site. They can take it offline almost instantaneously by using the processing power of basically their whole nation. They've got some of the most expert hackers of all. They've got an extremely advanced intel program. And you're sitting there worried about Russia. So while people were worried about Vladimir Putin, Jinping there managed to infiltrate, well, I think it would have been before he took office, Feinstein's offices. Wonderful. So someone driving her around while she's potentially in the backseat discussing classified material. There's potentially classified shit all over the vehicle. It's like, remember, who was it? Was it related to the Aberdeen case? I think it was last year where a suitcase containing like secret material was just left in an unlocked trunk in a vehicle or something like that, or was it the Iwan case? It was one of these Democratic Party cases. I can tell you that because the Republicans don't seem to have that issue. Maybe because if you look at the likes of McConnell, who would trust him with classified info to begin with? I kid. Well, not really. It's tongue-in-cheek. No, but this is worrying. It should be very worrying. And meanwhile, the mainstream media, they're like not talking about it. It's like, didn't trend, nobody cares. It's like, yeah, Dianne Feinstein's driver was a spy for a foreign government. There's your real foreign interference within our political structure. Jan, let's go back and talk more about this fucking witch hunt with Paul Manafort that has to do with money laundering as ancient as the sands of time. Don't you see a little bit of a double standard here? Why wouldn't people talk about Feinstein's Chinese spy connection? Oh, well, don't worry about it. The intel agencies say, yeah, we missed the fact that he was a spy, but don't worry, nothing substantial was passed on. How do you know? You didn't even know he was spying. How do you have any fucking paper trail whatsoever beyond the most recent of his activities? You don't know shit. Feinstein, her reaction, well, I forced him to retire. Yeah, unfortunately, he was a really great driver, but, I've got to let him go. I've got to have somebody else do it now. Yeah, and the next person, his name will be Russian or something. You know, that's probably what they're hoping for. See, they're not going to talk about it because it wasn't Russian infiltration. It doesn't help their argument that that's the main foe of the entire U.S. is a rust bucket former power that still conducts espionage, yes, and propaganda, but much less than it did when it was the USSR. People are still clinging to this weird notion that the USSR exists and the KGB is running around. It's like, no, they were defeated. They lost the physical and diplomatic war. The Cold War, they lost physically. They only won it in an emotional and psychological sense, because now you have idiots like Feinstein here who basically sound the same as Joseph Stalin to me. That's how they won the Cold War. This is a common thing. It's like that image of Uncle Sam and Stalin. I think it was playing chess. And Uncle Sam is getting checkmate down here on the board, and then the communist is reaching across to the head of Uncle Sam and moving a piece and actually checkmating his mind. It's a little bit like that. And Dianne Feinstein, yeah, she's basically a socialist. And you look at her policies, it's like, yeah, I want to disarm everyone and tax everyone up the ass. I want to make the United States weak. How wonderful that would be for the enemy of the United States, and you're worried about fucking Russia. Russia's moving off in the other direction, and what are they doing? Basically, hey, we've got oil and gas, and we want to sell it to the Europeans. Yeah, we're a real big menace. No, it's very, very funny to me that these intel agencies the left is always talking about how perfect they are. They're perfect. They do everything right. Meanwhile, they can't get Tsarnaev. They can't get Paddock before he does his thing. They can't find a fucking spy that's been there for 20 years. It's like, at some point, regardless of his training, some red flag had to have been there. And considering you conduct extensive surveillance, you know, in the very physical sense in San Francisco, any big city, there's cameras everywhere. There's listening devices everywhere. You've got access to everyone's cell phones to turn them on to conduct surveillance. Wasn't there any red flag? Isn't someone from another country going to be vetted anyway? But no, they weren't apparently. No, someone who's spying for a foreign nation. No, we didn't get any indicators of this. We had no idea what was going on. Yeah, that it gives me a lot of faith in the NSA and the CIA and the FBI and all these other alphabet soup bureaus, which is just what they are. They're just bureaus. They're not sacred and they're not perfect. That's about all. Peace out.